I don't relish the idea of any of that.
And there we go.
No, it never ends.
There it is, James.
Wow.
Hey, you shaved.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, you shaved. You're wearing a
I noticed
baseball
that.
cap backwards. So what's is there a story behind this?
Well, a lot of changes are happening.
Oh, yeah.
I've become an Angels fan,
Okay.
so I figured I need to.
Are there tattoos associated with this change in shaving and angels and everything? or
No,
not?
I told you why I can never get a tattoo. You guys know this already.
No. Oh, mom.
That's
Mom
right.
said she taught you. That's right. That's
James, do you remember why I can't get a tattoo?
I don't think so. I don't remember the story.
Well, we talked about this 2 episodes.
Yeah.
ago.
Did we?
Yeah, no, totally
Yeah.
talked.
Did we
about
talk
it.
about it in the podcast?
Yeah, we totally did, but that's okay. You know what? Hey,
Yeah.
screw me. I'm sorry. Ooh.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wah, wah.
You know, isn't it normally the middle brother's role to get ignored on a lot of stuff?
It's true. It is.
Yeah. So
The other thing too is
wow, he's turning the tables around.
the reason why she didn't want me to get a tattoo, or the reason why I don't want to get a tattoo, is she promised to haunt me, and that's not a joke.
Oh.
Yeah.
She said, "I know you like tattoos, but if you ever get one, I'll haunt you." And I was like, "What?"
On an unrelated note, James was starting to tell me about Trapper Keepers, and similarly, Jason, is that a Journey
It is.
album behind you? I mean,
It is.
that album art looks very Trapper Keeper-esque.
It does.
To be honest. I mean, that could be a Trapper Keeper if somebody didn't know what they were looking at.
It's probably one of the best, I would say, prog rock or progressive rock albums that's ever come out, is Journey's Escape.
Mm.
It's very good. It's very representative of the time it came out. And I don't know, without getting into a music
Music
theory, thank you. A lot of the, rock ballads can sort of go back to a few songs that are on that album.
So the year is, what you said, 1984, 1985. I'm starting school.
Yeah.
Of course, as the oldest, everything is mostly about me. So I'm starting school, and maybe in elementary school, at least in kindergarten, I don't know that a binder or papers or anything are really that big of a deal.
Yeah.
But maybe by 3rd grade, or for sure 4th or 5th grade, I had papers for different classes that I needed to store, correct?
Mhm. Yeah.
And so prior to the invention of the Trapper Keeper, how would I have stored those papers? What would have been my paper storage needs?
Oh man, like the old school folders.
Okay.
I would even say, as brothers, we were equally tidy. Like I don't remember very many stories where, our homework would get bunched up at the bottom of our backpacks or something like that, or like stuffed into a lunch bag, or,
Right.
kind of crammed, and we're ironing them out at the, when we get home, and be like, kind of take the creases. Mom, can you run this under the iron or something? No,
Right.
we didn't do that.
No, you're right. I think Mom and Dad wanted us to take good care of our stuff, and even our homework, we, for the most part, took care of. Okay.
But school supplies have gotten kind of a big deal. I know Jason, with our niece, your daughter, had to go school supply because she started kindergarten this year. And
Okay.
was it as big of a, I wouldn't say racket, but, it was almost by the book, when we were growing
Oh,
up.
hold on a second. Time out for a second.
Yeah.
I'm fairly certain, Jason, that we've already ended up in penalty. In a penalty.
Why?
By the book.
By the book.
By the book.
Yeah, you're already there.
By the book.
Dang.
Was that an unintentional?
Unintentional. I didn't mean to.
Okay.
Yeah. I should have said wrote, but anyway.
I want to call flag on the play, but we'll let it. We'll
Pick
let
it up.
proceed. Okay.
Hey, wrote.
Pick it up.
Wrote is a pun too.
Yeah, we need to save the penalty for later, because I know he's going to drop a few
Okay.
of them. So on school supplies, I'm going to tell you guys the most valuable resource that you never even think about are grandparents. So
Okay.
there's the hack right there. Is say, yeah, I want to take them school supply shopping, and for them it was like this big joy, and I go, okay, have it,
Okay.
have at it.
Awesome.
because the only thing
Okay.
more painful than going to any store with your nieces is going to the store with a purpose, because
Mm.
your whole brain is thinking, I need to get in, I need to buy what I need to, and I need to get the hell out of here.
Right.
And their whole thing is, I need to just absorb all of this at all points in time, approximately every 4.5 feet I possibly can. The other thing too is bringing a kid to the store when they're kind of tired. This is all stuff that, I don't know how grandparents and how our parents do it.
Yeah.
But I guess this is something you sort of cling on to. Oh, I missed that, or oh, that was a thing.
Yeah.
Well, my fabulous mother-in-law was just like, I'll gladly take her school shopping. So she shows up and she's got everything all set up. And of course, the only thing we had to really get was the matching accessories, like the backpack, the lunch bag.
What theme are we going with this year? What was Iron Maiden?
Princess.
Yeah. Or Princess.
Just the two options.
Or
so Cinderella.
Yeah, I'm thinking,
and
okay.
the hair metal
wait, hold on.
band.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Cinderella, the hair metal band, not Cinderella, the lovely Disney princess.
So we need to talk. Your daughter's really into Cinderella. Yeah. No, she totally is. Does she keep talking about the bad stepsisters? No, she keeps talking about how, side B of the cassette, something weird about like how the tracks come through, and I was like, what?
Right.
No.
Right.
So funny enough, the Disneyland water bottle that we had, Jeff, when you were there, the like light blue one, that's what it all matches up. So she's got a matching backpack and then the lunch bag. And
now there's lunch bags, right? There's like soft, like insulated. There's no like metal or plastic lunch boxes, really, right?
Not really lunch boxes anymore. No. Do you have a spork story? I have one.
Okay, what's your spork story, Jason?
So Houston has the Art Car Parade, which everybody knows is a gigantic event for the city of Houston and Texas and artists pretty much everywhere, where they decorate cars as fanciful as they possibly can.
Okay.
And they have sort of supporting people that are either on bicycles or walking alongside the car or roller skating or skateboarding, just, to sort of build the thematics around it. Well, senior year, we just graduated high school, and one of our friends said, hey, let's go down to the Art Car Parade. He goes, sure, yeah, not a problem. So we go down and we see a car that has plastic utensils stuck all over it.
Nice.
And there's a guy who is roller skating around wearing, I don't know, kind of a shimmery Daisy Dukes almost.
Okay.
And no helmet, no shirt. He's having a good time.
Yeah.
Has knee pads, which is kind of, weird.
He'll get massive road rash
Exactly.
for wearing no shirt or helmet. But his knees, he doesn't want to hurt his knees. Don't want to get scraped up. Okay, that's fair. And are these, by the way, four-wheel roller skates or these
four-wheel roller skates? The OG,
old school.
Yeah,
Nice,
like the tan knockarounds that he had hastily glued glitter to. Okay, so this guy, he's having a great time.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm having a great time just thinking about him zipping around. Okay.
So he was, going around and, he's having a good time and had some plastic paraphernalia, glued to his Daisy Dukes as he's going around.
Oh, he had sporks on his jorts?
He had all utensils. Okay.
Oh, okay. Not just sporks. Okay.
Yeah. So he had kind of everything. And I think that was the theme, was like, hey, let's make white plastic utensil or cutlery. Like, let's make it a thing.
Sure.
So Brian, in a very sarcastic voice, goes, wow, plastic cutlery, real cool. But he says it loud enough, and this guy is wheeling around, and he kind of does a pirouette almost.
Pirouette, okay.
A 360, comes back around, and he sees us all high school kids, and he lays out and he goes, spork you, and he goes away.
Nice.
Like everyone, and our car parade, very busy. So there's probably 50 to 60 people that heard him after Brian made the sarcastic comment, because it was hot. People were quiet.
Right.
unison laughter. It was like lots of crowd laughing and supporting, laugh tracks in the background.
Okay.
Brian turns to all of us and says, "That is the lowest moment of my life."
Yeah, there's a lot there. I think being insulted by someone who is clearly probably been insulted many, many times for their fashion choices. And then the Spork U piece, it's like, okay, well, was that something that guy, that person had teed up? Like, were they ready to?
I think so.
Okay.
He's like, one of these people is going to say, one of the people is going to say something to me.
Right.
I'm ready. But we had no idea he had sporks like hidden in his gloves. And so it was just like,
hold on a second. Oh, I think we got a new data point.
Huh?
Were those gloves fingerless, perhaps?
They were.
Oh, geez. Holy smokes. Okay. So let's paint the real picture here. You have a topless man in Daisy Dukes with glitter and plastic utensils, which hey, I want everyone to live their best life. And if topless with Daisy Dukes with plastic cutlery on them is fine. Old school roller skates, okay, we're kicking it up a notch, but hey, I'm still going along with you. I'm along for the ride. Fingerless gloves, however, that may be what takes it over the top for me. So, yeah, I can see why Brian was really hurting that day, because
he totally was.
When someone in fingerless gloves insults you with a cutlery-related pun, I would have thought he would say, like, go fork yourself, or,
Spork
like
you was just
Spork you. Wow.
And it was just the perfect delivery of it all. That was the ultimate knockout punch to someone's ego fresh out of graduating high school that he was not prepared to handle. And so we all learned a valuable lesson that day, which is let artists art. Okay. Don't get in the way of their vision, because they will make you pay for it.
Absolutely. So, James, I'm not sure how you're going to top Daisy Duke.
I'm not even going to.
Okay.
I'm not ready to top that story.
Okay.
Mine is literally, it's also in Houston, but basically we were at Taco Bell and we were waiting for our order to come up. This was years ago during a speech and debate tournament. So we went to grab lunch, and literally somebody walked in and in the course of about 10 seconds, like grabbed like 40 sporks and walked out. That's pretty much the story. Okay. So we didn't know why they grabbed the sporks, but it was pretty much that. So
I think we learned that summer, or that next summer, as to why they grabbed so many sporks. They glued it on an art car.
That's true. Yeah, the timing. Yeah, that tracks. That tracks. So,
oh my gosh, it does.
Yeah. You see someone out there, and there you go. That gummit, they just leave these sporks on the counter. I mean, what we're gonna do? We're gonna grab some sporks. We're gonna grab some knives. Maybe we'll grab some spoons. I mean, whatever we want to grab. It's our heart's desire. Nobody's told me no yet.
That's crazy.
I think there is a binding social contract that we accept with all fast food restaurants, is that anything is left out that's not behind the counter is ostensibly available for someone to take, right? So sporks, hot sauce packets, if you want to take a whole sleeve of napkins, if you can get them out of the dispenser faster than one at a time, there is a hack for that, by the way. If you can do that without them tearing in half as you remove them, those napkins are free use for everybody. So, I mean, short of taking the chairs out of a restaurant, I think anything that's not behind the counter is up for grabs.
Could you imagine the type of person that steals all of that stuff, and as they run out, they get hit by a car, like just a mess, like the cacophony of condiments and napkins just everywhere,
That just reminded me, and this is a true story. This is not made up. Craigslist years ago. I'm looking for a car. I'm looking at cars. Okay. This is not going where you think it's going. Maybe it is. I don't know. So, there are there used to be a free stuff posting on Craigslist.
Mm-hmm.
So it's more or less, hey, if you can haul it away, it's yours. So no warranty, no guarantee. It's there, it's free, whatever. I do remember, and this is no lie, no joke. Someone on the free stuff thing said, hey, I have to, like, not trash bags, but good sized grocery bags full of soy sauce packets, ketchup packets, mustard packets. And this is what their ad said. They said, I have 2 bags worth of condiments from restaurants that I don't have room for or a need for. They're free. They will be on my porch. Someone can get them. Now, if I had the time that day, just out of pure morbid curiosity, one, I wanted to go to this person's home just to see, what do 2 grocery bag sized vessels of, and for all intents and purposes, they had to be full, or even if they're 80% full, right? Because you don't want the bag to tear, or I guess it's not that heavy, but it's not like it's, hey, I've got 2 bags filled a quarter full. These bags, no doubt, were mostly full. Do you know how long it took them to build up a collection of soy sauce and hot mustard and ketchup? I mean, just the economics of that alone are astounding, right? It's how many orders of orange chicken and fried rice do you need to get that much soy sauce? Okay. But then, besides the morbid curiosity of what kind of person would store these things for an extended period, that's one notch. Would store them in volume, that's another notch. Would then take the time to put a free Craigslist ad to ask someone else to take them. So that in and of itself, I probably could have spent a week just understanding the psychology of that.
Yeah.
But we haven't even gotten to who in the hell is going to go to a stranger's house and pick up condiment packets. Needless to say, I think part of me died that day is not knowing the answer to those questions.
How long did it take for you to get to their house?
I didn't go. I mean, I really, like I said, I wish I had gone just out of curiosity to see, hey, who's showing up for this thing? So
I don't relish the idea of any of that.
And there we go.
Just
couldn't.
No.
Yeah.
It never ends.
There it is, James.
Wow. Unbelievable. We
There
have
we go.
We have morphed into Jimbo and the Douche Morning Show.
Hi, everybody. Captain James just told another joke. Oh, there it is.
Wow.
That character needs a name.
The punny chicken.
Wow.
Anyway, I have a trapper keeper. That was the whole point of the story, Jason. You saw
great.
that.
Yeah. Ooh, that Velcro.
Yeah, that noise. It's so distinctive. Like,
whoa.
There are a few things that sound like that noise that you can replicate from your childhood, but like 22 of those just going in a
Oh, yeah, you're right. Like it's, hey, need you to get this out and stuff. So,
and then because I got hand-me-downs, I never got the Trapper Keeper.
Okay.
I had the weird like click, the 5-star or whatever, which is
you had a 5-star.
Star.
That's still a good quality mead product. I mean,
it was, but that's how you could tell that the kids with the Trapper Keeper were going, and the way they went, I had to unzip it because
you have the zippered one where it's everything is secured inside it,
and so half the corners on my pages were just gone. Right, it's like, or half the pages were missing corners because of how they get caught in the zipper. That sounds really bad, actually.
Yeah. Getting anything caught in a zipper is never a good idea.
Yeah, no.
If there's anything we've learned from There's Something About Mary, zipper malfunctions are bad.
Yeah.
It reminded me of something, though, when we were talking about like papers.
Mhm.
And I don't know if you guys did this, James. You mentioned how overall we were fairly organized. You two might be surprised to know that I'm still not completely organized in many ways. But one of the things that I did, and I would say in high school, I stopped putting like papers and folders and stuff like that.
Hmm.
I got to the point where it's like, hey, look, if I can produce the assignment on time, most of the time, I feel pretty good. It did create some moments where I remember for Mr. Cooper's English class having a paper, an assignment that we had been, supposed to work on for months. That last day that it was due, I stayed up all night. I
Hmm.
drank. I remember at the time. Do you guys remember Jolt Cola?
Jolt
Yeah.
Cola.
So
Mhm.
Jolt Cola had the equivalent of 2 bottles of Coca Cola, or pick your Dr Pepper, etc. Pepsi if you're feeling it. They had Mega Jolt Cola at the
Mhm.
like Circle K or Diamond Shamrock in Rosenberg, and Mega Jolt had twice the caffeine of regular Jolt. And I remember the only way that I stayed up all night finishing that paper was every 2 hours I had another Mega Jolt Cola. So for 8 hours, I had 4 Mega Jolts. And so let me do that math really quick. I'll try not to take a shoe off. So if 1 Mega Jolt is equal to 2 Jolts, which is equal to 2 Cokes, I had the equivalent of 16 20-ounce Coca Colas over the course of 8 hours. The great news was I don't think I slept for like a week after that, possibly with a side of heart palpitations. But I was so far behind on my work that I actually missed the first 4 periods of school because I was still typing it on the word processor that we
Yeah,
had
yeah.
discussed previously. But at some point, you got to call it like, hey, I'm not going to finish it. So I think I went to school. Maybe I missed the first 3 periods trying to finish as much as I could typed because it was supposed to be typed. So then
Mhm.
I get to school and I'm handwriting the last of the paper in my other classes. All that to say, I think that being organized was not really my forte, planning, not really my forte. Instead of folders, I would just take the piece of paper and fold it in half and put it between the front of the book and the pages. So
Yeah.
a good sized textbook, you guys can hold like 50 or 100 pages worth of homework and handouts in there. However, imagine if you're walking down the hall and you drop your books. You know what happens to all those papers, right?
Yeah. Or one
Mhm.
of your friends comes up and does a back tip, and
Yep.
away they go.
They go skittering or scattering, I'm not sure what the right word is, throughout the rotunda at Lamar Consolidated High School. And my feeling was, hey, I am not going to stop a la some bad 80s movie and pick up my papers because of how nerdy I am. I have my papers strewn about. I just kept on walking. I grabbed the book and I kept on walking. So, yeah, at least
Oh
once
man.
my homework, handouts, all that stuff were strewn in one of the hallways. So, but if I had a trapper keeper, they would have been completely secured. So the joke was on me.
Well, yeah, like that's if Trapper Keepers, like, if we believe the marketing on it. But I do, because I'm obviously a sucker for nostalgia.
Sure.
So of course I'm going to buy a new Trapper Keeper. You mentioned I drop my papers and pick it up like a nerd. You were the least nerdy, I thought, of the three of us. And not to say, Jason, you were more, I wouldn't say manly or athletic, but like, I would say that,
But
Jeff, you were the least. You seemed to me to be the least nerdy in adolescence. Would you agree with that?
I'll let Jason weigh in on that first as the camera dramatically pauses.
Yeah.
So
So you're saying that Jeff, out of the three of us, was the least nerdy?
Yeah, I think that's a pretty.
I believe that he was the most acclimated to approaching high school as a cool kid. Okay. More so than you or I were. So,
Okay. Yeah.
as far as nerdiness, he had his own nerdisms,
sure,
but was able to repress those by playing things such as football, playing sports such as football, which kind of kept it down. And I think you guys also, you were the last stanchion of Boy Scouts are neat. They're not cool, they're neat.
yeah, the connotations for for being a scout were definitely different over time. There's so many cool things that I think individually and collectively we got out of being in scouts.
Yeah.
Certainly Dad busting out my tooth at a scouting event was one actual tangible benefit of scouting, but
Yeah.
that's another story for another day.
But that, as far as like the coolness factor, James, I think that Jeff was probably the most, adapted to handling the trials of high school, more so than we were. And I think also part of it is, the social circle he designed around himself was ones that he wanted to have around him because of who he was by himself.
Yeah.
You and I got to stay in my circle, but I just tried to bounce from group to group and not, really keep myself defined. That didn't happen until after high school. So it's like by kind of bouncing around or going to different groups, it's like I didn't really find a place. So I was very misfit-ish, I think. And I had good friends. And I still think that it was kind of a weird reflection to go back to my reunion this year.
Yeah, how was it? That was a couple weeks ago, right?
Yeah, it was not that long ago. Yeah, about 7 weeks ago.
That was a 20-year?
20-year, yeah.
Wow.
But how much different I was, after high school to get away from it all, to get away from the bubble, that is where we grew up, and the bubble that is, what I was trying to be, which didn't obviously play out. I was ignoring who I really, really was.
Which is a roller skating, Daisy Duke wearing plastic utensil lover. I mean, I'm just glad you're finally living your truth. You embrace who you really are.
The RSUDs, which is what we call ourselves, roller skating utensil dancers.
Nice.
So, we
hold
have
it closer, utensil dancing.
That's right.
No.
No,
Sorry,
that actually was our theme song. Sir Elton called us, and it was. We had to do. I can't even remember what the new song is. It's voted out for committee right now, but
sure, okay.
But finding, your kind of true self after high school, and some people find it during high school and are comfortable and can, live with that.
Yeah.
But the type of guy who I know is sure of himself has to drive a Chevrolet Caprice Classic wagon with peeling vinyl and, can still be so sure of himself to bring him and his buddies to ZZ Top, that's the level of coolness that I think Jeff was, which is just like, I said was, that's not appropriate, but was in high school. Yeah. I looked up to you a lot, but me being, 6 years younger, knowing I was going through, kind of acclimation of middle school. Yeah. Man, it sucked. It was atrocious to have to deal with, but like, I knew you were cool to me because, and we're going to get to a touching moment. Not, I'm sorry, that sounds bad. A heartfelt moment.
Yeah. There was no touching. Again, I just, for the record, want to say there was no touching. Okay? There's no touching. I love you. You're my brother. But there was no touching moments. None.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
It's
wow.
Wow.
So. Yikes. Anyway. And again, for anyone who has been in that situation, we are apologizing in advance. It was a very serious situation. We are not making light of it at all. However, nothing happened between Jason and I.
This is a nervous laugh. Yes. It is not a laugh at a circumstance that people have gone through.
No. So get back to your sentimental moment.
How you were cool is when you were working.
Yep.
You had made it to where I could read your car magazines. However you want, like you were fine. You just said, just put them back where they go.
Okay.
But hey, read up on them, learn about them, and then we'll talk about it when I get home. And we always did. And I remember, oh gosh, this is going to not be cool. But when you were 15 or 16, I still remember the car you wanted was Toyota Celica. Like the 4 headlight. It had gone from the pop-up headlights to the 4 headlights. And you're like, I love that car. That's such a cool car. Like, I want that. And I still remember, that listening to Boston with you
Yeah.
on the Sansui speakers, which aren't behind me now, but they're in the other room.
Right.
That was a really, really cool moment. And then, in similar vein with James, I knew that he and I could play video games together, and sort of be goofballs with each other without
Right.
that. And so, unfortunately for James and myself, because we were more exposed nerdy, it made us it made me as a target for sure.
You're saying you were more visibly, like outwardly nerdy, is what you're saying. It feels like in the last 20 years, but even the last 10 years, I would say that it's been kind of cool to be a nerd, and meaning it's cool to be passionate about something, to to be involved with it. Again, just for the record, I have not been to a high school in many, many years. I'm not hanging around high schools. I don't know where high schools are. I don't have a legal block from being near a high school. Let me also make that statement. But I don't know if kids in high school who do all kinds of different things, whether it's music or other kind of visual arts or speech and debate or sports or whatever, I don't know if those kids would be considered cool or not, or things like that. But I understand what you're saying, Jason. So I it does feel like things have moved in a positive direction overall, where, hey, if somebody likes something, they can find like-minded people that have that same deal. And maybe it's not in person at school, maybe it's online, maybe it's at another school across town or whatever. So James, what do you think about your own and you also had the blessing or the curse of living in high school, pretty formative years in two different places. I mean, Rosenberg, Texas, and the Bay Area could not be more different.
I feel like I knew I had the capability of being creative or unique, but I didn't think I had the chops to be a full blown nerd. Like what I knew, where Jason mentioned Misfit. I would even say, and not to push back on that, Jason, but Misfit would imply to me like you didn't feel like you had a place that you belonged. Whereas I think you felt maybe in high school that you just roamed from group to group because you knew you could fit everywhere. You knew you had a place of like, hey, I want to do band, or hey, I want to do theater, or hey, I want to do speech and debate. So you were a roamer in the best way, and you fit in. In a lot of ways, I experienced you, or you seemed to me that you moved from group to group in maybe a more optimistic or positive way. I wanted to be that in high school. I wasn't. I think.
Well, what about the whole Texas versus California thing? Did you see a difference there?
I think even going back, like, without making it too maudlin, I think that I had to figure out how to grow up faster and like kind of be more adultish in the last 2 years or a year and a half of high school, because I moved to California middle of my junior year. So all of the preparation of going to college and being like, I need to take my SATs, that's all gone, and then you have to basically, it uproots and again, this is, I would say, a choice, quote unquote, but there's to me, it's pretty much when you learn that lesson to be, a young adult, if you will, sooner. And so you almost recognize, maybe in some ways that the cliques or the roles, like if Jeff was an athlete, Jeff wasn't a quote unquote jock, but Jason, you weren't also quote unquote, creative. It's like, those don't matter. Like what matters is, how secure your identity is kind of going into what if you feel like you're expressing your authentic self. So Texas felt authentic for a while, and then there's a point where it didn't. And then California, I tried, but by the time I graduated, I actually felt I had moved past what I was doing out of college. So, and weirdly, I gravitated towards my first job at Blockbuster, which I think a lot of, us do. Jeff, your first job, Jason, your first job, we go to what calls to us a little bit. And Blockbuster wasn't my first job, but it was the first one that nurtured my, like identity a little bit more. The fact that I could be, I would say, not openly nerdy, but just like not apologetic. And it was almost
Right.
like, if I took the misfit role as well, or if I took that title of saying I literally didn't fit anywhere because I took myself out of the equation in Texas and moved to California, well, I'm putting myself back in this like Blockbuster equation, pre-internet. Well, not pre-internet. Sorry, 1999. The internet was there, but pre-Netflix or whatever, where you
Okay.
can look up everything on your phone. And even Google was new, but it's like, the prevalence of like you can go to a book and say who directed so and so. Like
Right.
you can just come to me or something like that. And I had the benefit of doing voices and all that stuff. Yeah.
It takes a certain to what you're thinking. What you're saying, I think, is it takes a certain amount of appreciation for film and movies, and then it doesn't all have to be, high class, highbrow entertainment. It can be, hey, just something that's silly and fun. You can get that in a Blockbuster in 1999,
Yeah.
and you could also feel comfortable to be yourself, because chances are one or more of your coworkers have that same thing, whether it's the is it Trauma, those films, right?
Yeah.
The what are they called? The
Trauma film. Yeah.
Trauma film. What's their
Yeah.
main one though? It's their big one.
Toxic Avenger.
Toxic Avenger. So you could have a coworker that's really into trauma, right?
Yeah.
And that's okay. And then you could have somebody else that's like, no, I love Fellini, or I love spaghetti western, or whatever kind of genre. Blockbuster certainly would have appealed to a lot of folks like that. So
Yeah.
I got you.
There's a love of, I think even too, there's a love of facts and nostalgia, even going back to when I was in elementary school, of just kind of constantly learning and stuff. So if anything, the misfit side of me and the introvert as an adult side of me is very gravitated towards those aspects of nostalgia and fact and, literary side of things, which makes me, I would say, out of the three of us, not the least athletic, but the most nerdy. And if you disagree with me, feel free to. We can have an academic on it if you want.
You're definitely the most nerdy. I will. Jason, do you second that emotion? James, you are the most nerdy of the three of us. But I say that with pure love. I think that's part of what makes you special and awesome, is you can nerd out on some things, James, that frankly I don't know that much about.
We've
I couldn't
all
remember the Toxic Avenger.
Yeah, we've all found what I feel is our social tribe, or our calling, in a sense, to be surrounded by those around that we want to be near.
Yeah.
And that's part of the cool thing about growing up in and having the ability to sort of not do the same regular cadence things that you're told to do that we
Right.
had. That was a very unique, I would say, opportunity in comparison with a lot of my friends, right? Oh, you had to go do this,
Yeah.
so you had to go do that. You have to blah, 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 blah. And it was almost like a programmatic schedule. And they now, guess what? They didn't move but 15 miles away from home. And they're in
Right.
the same, sort of bubble and the same sort of exposure cycle that they've lived with. And sometimes people are okay with that. They have escapes in other ways. And then sometimes people they can't do it anymore, or they make a rash decision, or they, make a major change in their life. I think that if there is an appreciation to the way that we grew up, as quasi fragmented as it became, for me, especially later on.
Yeah.
It's the fact that, we, in a sense, were able to have freedoms.
Jason, you hit on something just now, and I want to circle back to it. It's this idea that, where we grew up in was certainly a smaller town at that time. It's grown a ton. In fact, I think, the area that we grew up in today is obviously way different than it was 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, et cetera. But in many ways, it hasn't changed, because a lot of the people are still there, and there is no judgment on that. I think where we grew up was a great place to grow up. There's good values there. There's, proximity to kind of a bigger city in Houston. Certainly the humidity leaves something to be desired in that area. But I think it was a neat place to grow up. And I also can imagine a lot of the people that we grew up with like that about where we grew up. They like the values that are there and things like that. And it's, it's comfortable in many ways. And so when I say it's comfortable, there's no judgment. But at the same time, it is harder to push yourself outside of your comfort zone. And tons of my classmates that I can remember would go to one of a handful of schools in Texas. Very few left Texas at all. And then when they graduated, if they had the ability to, they wanted to come right back to where we grew up. To your point about kind of, and this is what I wanted to speak to with, who's the most athletic or nerdy. Clearly, I am not the most athletic anymore. James, I would actually say you're the most athletic now of you, Jason, and I. Meaning you do the most athletic things with your biking and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Jason, you play softball, and I think you go to the gym or work out, or you just chase children around all day. Your children, but still chase children around all day. But I say that because what I loved about the way that we grew up, and I definitely think that, the mom and dad inspired this in us, and we had it within each other as well, was we weren't limited to kind of one interest or another. We all had multiple interests. Mm-hmm. So if I think about, like, for me personally, in high school, junior high and high school, I played football. Part of that, I'm sure, was a response to, like, Jason, you got to do baseball, t-ball, soccer. You did some things through the Y and other places that I never did any organized sports outside of those 6 years in junior high and high school. And I was fine with that. I had no desire to do anything else. Soccer has too much running. Baseball definitely has a lot of running. And I lack the hand-eye coordination to play basketball well. So football was fun, but I also did speech and debate and theater arts and different things like that. And I think all three of us, it's part of why we're on this call today, why we've done this, is we're all a little bit wacky and we like to make each other laugh and make other people laugh. And so there's those creative things that we have. What's interesting to me, though, Jason, is besides the sports, until you shattered was it your femur or what bone did you break?
So it was a tib-fib fracture after standardized testing, just a pickup game. And the kid, kicked my leg and I kicked the ball.
Right. Pickup soccer game, though,
right? Soccer game. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. But had you not broken your tibia and your fibula, do you think you would have played soccer in school, or you would have played another sport in school? It would have been likely, right?
Yeah, I probably would have tried to play football and baseball. Okay. Problem with baseball is, it's so competitive when you get to a certain age that, when you start kind of behind, you can work as hard as possible, but unfortunately, there's a financial commitment that started to hit right when I was going into it. And so, that was
it's hard to do that without resources.
Absolutely. And I think that soccer was the same sort of thing. After I'd gotten recovered, it's just like I missed that sort of cut. And then, I didn't hit my growth spurt until junior-ish year. I mean, I was 5'3". I was like 5 feet when I started in freshman year, and then I was 5'3" after sophomore year. Okay. I mean, it was tiny.
Wow.
And then high school, I graduated as 5'9", 5'10". Okay. So it was about Dad's height. Maybe it was about his height.
You're still growing?
I was, yeah. After high school is when I got to 6'1" ish.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I was 19 when that happened. I was like, whoa.
Well, what's interesting to me, Jason, is that you got also really good at, of course, the trumpet, cornet, and then French horn, right? Or was it just trumpet and French horn?
Yeah, it was trumpet and French horn. So cornet, trumpet, French horn.
Okay. And there's a progression there, right? Like a lot of kids play the cornet, but you may not be good enough to play the trumpet. And certainly most kids are not good enough to play French horn, right? Because it takes some discipline and things like that.
Yeah, which I hated it. I mean, it was, I liked playing the trumpet because it was fun, but because I had bird lips, they're like, hey, bird lips, come on, play the French horn. Go ahead.
Nice.
The problem is like, I would say with that instrument, you talk about just penalizing me to date girls in high school. Like I hit.
Are you saying the French horn is one of the least macho instruments in the band?
No, it's not a very masculine,
Yeah, it's not the drums.
It's not the drums. Yeah,
it's not the drums.
And that's the thing is, I was friends with all the people that were in percussion and played the like, hey ladies, and then you realize that you look like a total Neanderthal when you play the drums.
Right. Yeah. You look like Animal from the Muppets. He is.
Regardless.
I mean, he does have the most outward testosterone of all of the Muppets.
Certainly. Certainly.
Fozzie Bear, his voice and comedy routines do not scream, aggro masculine energy.
I read Shakespeare. No, you don't, Animal.